Hello and welcome. I'm Melinda Akami. Tonight, voters turn out in large numbers to exercise their franchise in the Anambra state governorship elections in defiance of security concerns as candidates express different views on the conduct of the poll. Vice President Osinbajo challenges countries in West Africa to back the fight against money laundering and illicit financial flows in the sub-region with action. 4 female suicide bombers launch attack near Bedugri, the Borno state capital, killing themselves and a boy. And thousands troop out on the streets of Harare in solidarity with the military, insist it's time for President Robert Mugabe to step down.
On Business News tonight, central banks in Nigeria and Kenya set to hold final monetary policy committee meetings for 2017 next week.
And on Sports News tonight, Nigeria's Falconets advanced to the final round of qualifiers for the FIFA Women's Under-20 World Cup after beating Morocco 6-2 on aggregate.
We start off with the Anambra state governorship election, which has been described as peaceful by observers and voters. The exercise began early in many parts of the state, although there were complaints about late arrival of voting materials at some centers. A total of 37 political parties are vying for the governorship seat in the election, which took place in 326 wards and 4,608 polling centers, with 2 million people registered and expected to have participated in the election. Our political correspondent, Shinokina Baloye, tells us more.
It was somewhat a confusing start to the exercise. Ad hoc officials stranded were told that there was a confusion in their deployment. It took the intervention of the resident electoral commissioner of INEC in Anambra State. Considering the time where the exercise has already started in some other parts of the state, the young ad hoc officials scramble to get a seat on the waiting buses. Slow, rough but steady. That's perhaps the best way to describe the start to this election. In some areas, card readers failed, and in some others, materials did not arrive several hours after the exercise started. One of the top contenders in the race is not pleased at all by the late start.
I've been here since maybe 8 o'clock. Nothing, we couldn't see no official, no INEC material, no nothing. Been making phone calls, nothing good forthcoming. So we are like stuck, no voting here. At the moment, no material here.
Other contenders have different stories to tell about the exercise.
I'm happy the election is going on. People have turned out in large numbers, as you can see. People are hoping to vote here peacefully. And we believe that at the end of the day, the ballot will be counted and results entered peacefully.
I can just call them only average. Only average, they are not above average. Based on preliminary report I'm getting across the states. But the most worrisome is the attitude of the police.
I'm really happy here. I'm very happy. You can see the large turnout of voters actually waiting to cast their vote. You know, I'm very confident that at the end of the day, I'm going to carry the day.
All said and done, counting over, the results are now being put together from all the local government areas in Anambra State. The final figures to determine the winner will be announced by the chief returning officer, and now all eyes will be on the umpire, INEC. From Oka, the Anambra State capital, Shinwa Kimaloye, reporting for Channels Television News.
One aspect of the Anambra election that has so far received an appreciable level of commendation from the election observers is security. 26,000 policemen were deployed to the state to complement the efforts of other security agencies and assure the election is hitch-free.
It's D-Day as voters in Anambra State, southeast Nigeria, troop out to choose their preferred candidate for the governorship seat.
That's where you...
Although the process got off to a slow start, accreditation and voting are being done simultaneously across polling units.
It's going on smoothly, except that some of the card readers are either too slow or not even working. But I kept on telling my people to talk to the INEC officers to see if they can vote without the card reader. Otherwise, some of them may not be able to vote.
Meanwhile, INEC's National Commissioner for Voter Education and Publicity says many of the logistic problems had been taken care of ahead of the exercise.
The whole exercise took a bit of, was a little bit wobbly yesterday night, but we were able to surpass most of these problems and we made sure that we opened most of the places.
As the polls got underway at one of the polling units in Amobia area of Oka, men of the Department of State Security arrested a man allegedly for buying votes for his preferred candidates. He was later released.
He cannot say that he saw me giving anybody money because I have not given anybody money. I brought money here. My party said we should pay our agents a certain amount of allowance for doing the job because they'll be standing in the sun. And I want to make sure that they are doing it as one of the old stakeholders in the world and whom they can trust. They say I should have the money because it could get into other hands and they take it away.
The voting process was much better in places like Osuchia, Umuodu, in Ogbaru local government area. Security is tight around the state with thousands of officers deployed and checkpoints mounted to ensure a smooth process at border points.
We can say it was largely successful, but nevertheless there were just isolated cases of a few individuals in remote areas where we had also done some trade analysis and where we didn't do exactly very good trade analysis. We saw people coming in and take away the ballot box, but these ballot boxes they took away. The police officers that were there would not be able to do much, and we didn't want to call a patrol vehicle that would chase them out. In taking those vehicles, they take them, put them zoom off.
With 36 political parties vying for the governorship office and the party in power seeking a re-election, expectations are high that the people of Anambra State will get the leader they deserve.
To give us an update about the situation there, we go to Anambra Live, where our political correspondent, Seun Okinbaloye, is standing by.
Thank you so much, Melinda, and welcome to Oka. And this is the capital of Anambra State. This is the situation center for INEC in this election. It's a media center where the results are going to be collated and announced in any moment from now. We do not know when the results are going to be announced, but what we understand and what we do know is that in some areas across the state, the results are being collated. A lot of incidents have been reported earlier today in places like Azubulu, in places like Ekusigo, Amobia, incidents of collation officers in those areas that are not found, incidents of ballot snatching in some areas of town. We've spoken with the director, the Deputy Inspector General of Police, who has spoken to us that there are incidents and there are some arrests that are being made. But generally, it looks so much like a peaceful conduct. But that is not our call for tonight. We will be getting the benefit of the experience of the observers in this election. And that's why tonight we're being joined on the News at 10 by the convener of the Civil Society's Situation Room, Mr. Clement Unwanko. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you, Sharon.
You've been part of observing these elections even before the election. A few days ago, we've spoken about how this election is going. But from your assessment and what the observers are bringing to your table today, what is your assessment so far?
Well, there was apprehension about the security situation, especially with the threats, but things have relatively gone peacefully. Of course, there are several incidents of violence, officials turning up late in a few places. Some cases, of course, officials even making away with some of the voting ballot papers and so on. But the police has been very responsive. A lot of places where incidents have occurred, they have been prompt to react and nip some incidents in the bud. Unfortunately, of course, it has also meant that the police has not been widespread as we thought. They had promised 26,000 police personnel. I don't think we had 26,000 personnel on ground. But most striking with elections is the huge amount of money that's been spent by the political parties, openly bribing voters at the polling units, some spending as much as 5,000–6,000 naira to pay for a single vote. This is really unprecedented in terms of the amount of money spent buying votes of citizens, and it's really disappointing to see this level of abuse of the electoral process and abuse of the limits on expenditure.
If you look at what INEC has done today, what are the lessons? Has INEC improved on any of its processes, or did they drop the ball?
Well, I think we had very, very few cases, in fact, perhaps 2, 3, 4 cases of the voters register being an issue. So on the voters register, compared to the last governorship elections here in 2013, it's a huge improvement with the voters register. The response to the card readers not working and malfunction has also been good. There are, of course, a few cases of card reader malfunction, but the response from INEC has really been very good. There has been incidents of ballot snatching, ballot box snatching, but again, the numbers have been limited. And I think that the fear about police, over-policing, has been very, very seriously minimized. In 2013, when these elections were held, the police numbers were so very overwhelming that people were scared and didn't turn out to vote as much as they should. In this particular election, the police numbers have been limited, really, and the conduct of the police in terms of exchange and engagement with citizens has been very, very good. And I think that that has encouraged the numbers of voting. But again, the turnout has not been as high as should have been expected.
If you look behind you now, party agents are seated, journalists are also waiting, INEC officials are putting finishing touches into how this result is going to be announced. Do you think we are going to have a very, very long night and perhaps a long morning waiting for this result? How early do you think, based on what you have observed, the technicalities of this election, how long do you think it will take for these results to come in?
Well, the results have to physically come here, but we know that the results from the polling units has gone to the ward level, and from the ward level it will be sent electronically. So in terms of the results, it should really be quite clear at some point early this in the morning what the results are. But in terms of actual announcement, we think that the movement of materials and the movement of the physical result sheet to this collation center needs to happen before INEC can really announce the results. But I expect that sometime tomorrow we will be seeing the results of the election.
In just a word, would you say this outing for this election has been a success holistically?
I think it's been blemished by the huge amounts of vote bribing that has taken place. I think it's unacceptable that people, candidates, should spend this kind of money on an election, and I think it's sad. On the part of INEC, I think that INEC had initial hitches, but they tried to redeem themselves in the course of the day, and apart from these few incidents that we have mentioned, it looks like the collation is really what we are waiting for, to see how that goes. And we can't really be definite until we see the collation complete. All
right. Mr. Clement Nwanko is a convener of Civil Society Election Situation Room. Many thanks for your time on the News at 10 tonight. So we'll be waiting. We will keep vigil. We will watch the vote. We will see them coming, and we will bring you live on Channels Television as those results coming. And that's it from here in Awka and Anambra State. Melinda, is back to you now.
Many thanks, Sheung. In part 2, after the break, mixed reactions trail local government elections in Kwara State as leaders call for calm. Please stay with us.